The Carter Center, founded by former President Jimmy Carter and former First Lady Rosalind Carter, is a nonprofit charitable organization whose purpose is to advance peace and health worldwide and has done that in 80 nations. On Sunday, November 23rd, Tunisia held its first free democratic presidential election in the history of Tunisia. The leaders of the existing government asked President Carter to have the Carter Center monitor the election to assure that the election was conducted according to international standards. A total of 5.2 million people registered to vote, with more than 4,500 polling booths established nationwide. I was one of 85 observers representing 28 nations sent by the Carter Center to monitor the election. The center sent teams of 2 throughout Tunisia to observe the election process. I was teamed with Becky Carter, daughter-in-law of President and Mrs. Carter, pictured here. We observed 10 voting centers in Tunis, the capital city. There were approximately 5 to 7 polling booths in each center. To assure that the election was carried out peacefully, members of the Army and local police were stationed in every voting center of the country. The polls opened at 8 o'clock in the morning. Becky Carter and I arrived a half hour early at one center and found prospective voters in line early for the privilege of casting their vote. Army and police guards were present and carried out their responsibilities in a calm and relaxed manner. The polling stations visited were well organized. A copy of this poster was mounted outside every polling booth so that the voting public would understand the voting process. As voters entered the appropriate voting station, the poll workers verified that they had registered to vote. Voters would then dip their left index finger in an inkwell that will indicate that they have voted. A ballot was given to the voter who completed it and placed it in the secured box. This is a copy of the ballot. There were 27 presidential candidates listed on the ballot with their photographs. 5 dropped out just prior to the election day. These ladies proudly showed us that they did vote. The polls closed at 6 p.m. and the counting of the ballots began immediately. Supporters of several of the candidates were present to assure that the counting of the ballots was conducted properly. Becky Carter and I remained for the counting process. The counting of the ballots was completed at 10 p.m. They were then packaged, sealed, and driven to an arena by Army guards where the votes from all 10 centers would be tabulated. This process was carried out throughout the country. Here we see Becky Carter closely monitoring the tabulation process. We remained at the arena until 2 in the morning and returned later that day to observe the completion of the tabulation process. 65% of the 5.2 million registered voters cast their vote. No candidate received the majority of the votes, so a runoff election will be held on December 21 to determine which of the 2 leading candidates will become the first democratically elected president. The 2 final candidates are Beji Essebsi, former prime minister who received 39% of the votes cast, and President Monsef Marzouki, who received 33% of the votes. The Tunisian people that we observed are congratulated for the peaceful manner in which they conducted themselves during the election process. In the runoff election held December 21, 2014, former Prime Minister Beji Essebsi defeated incumbent President Monsef Marzouki with 56% of the vote against 44% of the vote.